Mic check. Do you know Mike?
No.
Did you check Mike?
No.
Hi, I'm HJ with RadioWavz. I'm production manager, and standing to my right is my father, Emmett Hohensee.
W0QH.
I didn't want to say it.
That's all right.
It's too short. Anyway, so what are we going over today?
We're going to be going over 3 different antennas that we've developed. It's the first one will be the Quasar Quad. This will be the 440 antenna, which you can see it's 440 meters with 7 elements. Then we're going to do a 2-meter quad.
In 3D.
In 3D.
Be careful.
Yeah, don't want to mac out the lens. And then we're going to do the 2-meter 440 quad, which gives you 4 elements on 2 meters and 7 elements on 440.
Sounds awesome. And real quick, we're going to get a quick explanation from Emmett on what these actually are and how they function.
Each one of these antennas are designed specifically for a specific band. A lot of these are used to basically give you a really quiet signal. It's also designed so that you get a lot of gain forward in half the space. In other words, if you were to build like a standard Yagi antenna, the Yagi antenna would be 2 and 3 times the size of this antenna with as many or more elements to get the same amount of gain. Plus, having the quad, which is a loop antenna, is a super quiet antenna and gives you a little bit better gain, and then also helps you be able to receive lighter signals, i.e., let's say Earth, Moon, Earth type, and transmissions. Weak signals from specifically like a repeater that's way off in the distance. And the nice thing about this is you're not having to put this really huge antenna up to link up, let's say, with another repeater system. A lot of people, especially in the California area, using our 220 quad beam antenna, uses it as the backbone to link up repeaters throughout a couple areas.
Fantastic. So, all right, now that we actually understand what antenna we're actually dealing with and how it works and what it's used for, Emmett's going to go over some of the parts. So if you do have any questions when you call us, or if you call us, you'll know what we're talking about. Emmett.
Thank you, Tim. An old home improvement joke. Anyway, basically you've got a couple components that you need to know about. This is the boom, which is the big fiberglass component, which is made out of a solid fiberglass material
3D
that has a 6 mil UV coating on it. So the idea being that it'll be able to handle the weather really good. The advantages of having a solid fiberglass over, let's say, a fiberglass tube, or even using an aluminum square tube, is that oxidation, corrosion, things break down, it's not as sturdy. As a matter of fact, the fiberglass itself comes with a 20-year warranty, so if the fiberglass breaks, it gets replaced. The other component, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the 442 meter.
Whoa!
Oh yeah, it's up there. What you have are 2 different types of hubs. These are called hubs, these white things. You've got a small hub and a big hub. The big hub is for 2 meters, and the small hub is for 440 or whatever combination we can fit in here.
And can we do custom combinations in general? Or?
Actually, yes, we can. We can do like a 2 meter, 220. We can also do, for instance, on the 2 meter element, we can do, instead of 7 elements, we can do 9 elements. It's all up to you how you want to do it.
So you could say that space is the limit?
Space is your limit. So the other thing is we do have a couple other units that we make. For instance, on the 2 meter element, 2 meter quad, we can do like 5 to 6 elements, and then you can also couple that up with a 2 meter, which it gets to be problematic as to putting so many loops in the same space. So anyway, what's really fun about these is you can take them out in the field, you can phase them together,
Fish with them.
and create a really strong and quiet and directive signal, which is really kind of nice. The next thing that we're going to look at are the spokes. Each of the spokes are, for instance, on the 2 meter the 2 meter quad component, you'll have one that might have one of these heads on here like this, or it'll be without one. What'll end up happening is you're just going to select one
of the spokes
and slide it on. That's correct. And then you'll have the other spokes. You'll notice that each one of these spokes has a little notch in it. That's where the wires sit. There we go. And then on the 440 elements, they're smaller. Okay, and typically a different color. Okay, in other words, these could be yellow. Actually, the 440 is a yellow. We use yellow spokes for 440s, but this can be a different color. It can be anything from green to blue to some other wild, crazy color.
So that actually brings up a good question. Can the customer paint these if they prefer a different color? If they like
most
to,
definitely.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. As a matter of fact, just use a simple an enamel paint with no zinc in it. Okay, so basic Rust-Oleum will work. The 99.99 can of enamel paint will generally work as long as there's no zinc in it. You don't want anything that's conductive. Okay, and what will happen is you got 7 groups of these individual spokes.
What antenna is that for?
This is for the 440. So you can see quite a contrast between element A and element B. Okay, each one of these has a letter written on it. For instance, on the 440, each one of these elements you have a total of 7 elements, and it'll start with R, which is the reflector, then D, which is the driver. And in this case, because I wanted to show everyone how this is done, you'll take one of your Ds. We generally ship these with little rubber bands, so if you have to, if you're in the field, you can put them all back together again. What you do is you take one of the spokes that has the little groove in it, and you'll slide this on it. Initially, what you'll do is you'll do that. Use a little screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, a number 2, until it locks in place. Now, don't screw it in all the way, just enough to where it holds it in place. Because what's going to happen is we typically cut all of our antennas long, or we cut these antennas long because there are some other than amateur use that we've tried to set up for. For instance, on the 2 meter side, we've got some it's cut for a public service frequency, and so what you're going to end up doing is taking your individual element. Okay, for instance, this is the driver, and what you'll end up doing is after you get it all set up, you'll go through a tuning process, which we'll cover at another time, and that tuning process will allow you to cut that wire down a little bit farther, so you can.
Now, question on the wire. It's red. Mm-hmm. Are all the drivers going to be red?
No.
Okay.
Each of the drivers have different colors. Okay. In the case of the 2 meter 440, on this case the 2 meter, red is the driver. Black is the reflector, and we'll probably.
I'm assuming you're referring to the beads that are
right there.
Okay.
Very good. There's a little bead on. I got to untangle myself here. Okay, there's a bead on each of these. And some of these, sometimes we've got a little piece of tape that tells you what it is. But see this black bead right there. Okay, this is the reflector. Okay, you've got the driver. Then the next one that will come up will be D1, director number 1. And you can see it's got a blue bead. And then the last one is director number 2, and it's got a green bead. Okay, we do the same thing on the 440, except this case you've got 7 elements and several different colors of beads. Now, one thing you can always it's something you can do in case things happen and you don't know which one is which. What you can do is you can always take an element, and let's go with each element going from the rear, from the reflector to the last driver or director. Each element is smaller than the one previous. So what you can do is, so you can see how the difference in size of these elements. Okay, so you go with the reflector. And let's say you've got 2 of these directors or directors. You're not really sure which one is which. So what you do is I got 3 of these. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I just kind of spread them out. Okay, this I've got one that's really big. Okay, I can pull that out. So that's director number 2, and by the way, it's color coded as well. But you can also see here where you've got these elements. One's just a little bit bigger than the other element. And so you start from the rear of the antenna, which is the reflector, and work your way forward, and you go from the biggest wire to the smallest wire. So for whatever reason, if like let's say one of these beads got broken off or whatever, the antenna isn't ruined, it's just you don't know which one it is. So all you have to do is just measure or just compare everything together, and you'll get all of that.
So go ahead and put together show us the steps that we will go through to putting together the easiest one. And real quick before we do that, we're going to take a quick break.
All right.
Okay, so now that we got a kind of a rough understanding of the parts list and kind of how it goes together, we're actually going to put together the 2 meter. Well, I'm not. I'm just going to stand here and look pretty. You're going to do it, Emmett, and you will be walking us through step by step how to set one of these antennas up, one of these quasars up.
Right. Okay, one of the things that you're going to get is in the package is obviously you're going to get this, and this will already be pre-assembled and everything's in its position. Just to let you know, the one that has the shortest space right here, that's the end. Actually, that's the tip of the antenna. And the back part where you've got this extra space, this is the rear where the reflector is. And what will happen is when you start doing the tuning process, you're going to undo the screw right here and slide this back or forward to give you help to adjust for the lowest SWR based on the driver.
It comes pretty much where it needs to be,
yes.
But depending on with shipping and all that stuff.
Yeah, okay. Shipping, environment, wherever all the other stuff that's involved. Typically, you're going to probably make this adjustment, but not right now. Because it's not, you can't really do it based on inches and so on. We get you into the area, but based on your environment, you may need to make some adjustments. to make it happen.
Which just seems to be kind of an atypical situation with
Pretty
most
much.
antennas.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're close, but they're not always exactly on. Why? Because everybody's environment is different. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have our wires. There'll be a total of 4. We'll have the mounting plate, which is what we use to mount this to the tube, which holds the antenna in place. You'll have on the 2-meter antenna, you'll have a set of 4 spokes, which will be marked D2 through R. So R, D, D1, and D2. Okay, you're going to probably need a Phillips head screwdriver, and that's for making some adjustments that we'll go through in the near future, and a standard flathead screwdriver, and that could be that will probably be used if the element's a little bit tight or it's hard to get it onto the individual on the individual spoke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assemble step 1. I'm going to go ahead and assemble the mounting plate. Okay. I'm not going to go ahead and completely set it up, because what's going to happen is we need to figure out where we want to mount the plate on the antenna itself. Okay, so we'll go like this. Now the way we design this is the actual pole that you're mounting this on will probably go up a little bit higher than the base of the boom. The reason for that is it gives you a little bit more stability when it comes to mounting it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start with the smaller U-bolts. These are 3/4 inch, or actually 1 inch U-bolts. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the antenna, or the boom, on the individual U-bolts. And now I'm going to flip this over like this.
Like a pancake.
Yep, like a pancake. Now I'm hungry. Okay, and we go ahead and put that on there like that. You go ahead and put all 4 bolts on. Now these are a little bit long, because you never know how you're going to mount them. If you're mounting things on if this is going to be like for a permanent installation, or you know exactly how you want to do the install. See if I got one of my bolts inside the bag. What you'll do is you can go ahead and cut off the extra material. But there is another little thing that happens. I'm speeding this up. Now what we can do is...
So, if you wanted to, could you put rubber gaskets and spacers in there if you didn't want to cut it off, to maybe windproof it a little bit?
Oh, sure.
So it's not bending any bars or anything like that?
Pretty much. Well, the other thing that this does, having this extra length like this, is when you put the pole that you're going to be mounting, this will go in between that, and it also helps with the stability.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Or your mounting bracket, I should say. Okay, I'm going to do this at about a 45.
So we're doing this in real time to kind of show how long this actually does take. Doesn't take much time at all. And in general, your novice ham will be able to pick this up real quick. It's very straightforward, as the demonstration is showing right now. This is the easiest first step you could have. All right, looks good.
Okay, now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put the pole mounts, or pole brackets, on. And what these brackets are designed, you have 2 components. You have the U-bolt, then you have the clamping section, which goes on the pole itself. And what you're going to use this for is it'll right things up, and it'll clinch it down so it's not going to slip. And now what you're going to do is you can just put the U-bolt in just like that. Okay, you'll put that on the mounting plate, like so. There we go. Put on the hardware.
These seem easier. These seem easier. Our camera operator just mouthed, "That's what she said."
There we go.
So that's where the pole would go through, right there. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And of course you'll use a wrench to put all this on.
Now, how tight would you say you want this? Are you bending the pipe tight, or
oh,
do you
no,
want...
definitely not. What'll happen is, just to where everything is nice and snug and doesn't move around, on these U-bolts, you've got a compression washer on it, and what you'll do is you'll just go ahead and tighten it down to where the compression washer is. I'm just going to do this so it's not flipping around on me while I'm. Now the reason why I'm doing this bracket first, and I also figured out kind of where I want to have things, is once you start getting all these elements on, messing with this bracket, you're gonna have to get your little skinny self inside, between the two elements, and based on some hams that I know, you're not going to fit in there. Okay, I'm going to mess with that later. Okay, so we've got that in place, and I tightened it down just a little bit. I'm going to get a wrench real quick. I can't remember exactly the size wrench that I need, so I'll just go ahead and go with the adjustable.
Maybe.
Oh, come on. There we go.
Yeah, look at that.
I'm just tightening this down so that way it doesn't flop around on me while I'm...
But in general, you would tighten that down
snug.
where you want it snug.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So you're not cracking the...
exactly.
Cracking the,
if you tighten it up so much that the fiberglass cracks, you've over-tightened it. And believe it or not, some people believe that you got to get it as tight to where the bolt doesn't move anymore. And in this case, all you have to do is get it to where the little lock washer is compressed, and quite often that should be more than sufficient. Okay, I'm going to start from the back and work my way forward.
So this would be
the reflector.
And step
1,
2.
2.
This is step 2.
Okay, and you see they're all marked R. And what I do is I go ahead and I take the unit like this. I go ahead and put that on, and you'll notice there's a little screw right there. That screw is so that when we put everything back, when we have everything in place, we can tighten down the element. Now, interesting thing.
Real quick, can you show them?
Okay, another little thing too is remember the notch goes on the outside. Okay, once you've got this in place, sometimes it doesn't hurt to have two people, but in this case,
I am two people.
Yes, he can be.
So what color are we starting with?
Black.
Okay.
Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're just going to take this. Typically, you can do this on your own, but it makes it a little bit easier when you got a friend around to help you out. Okay, we'll go ahead and put this element on. Just a minute, HJ.
Oh, too late.
There we go. Okay, there we are. Now you can see the element is pretty much tight enough as it is, especially if you're just like going out into the field and doing things. You can do that, or in this case, if you want to tighten it up, you can pull this out. It slips out just a little, and then you use your Phillips head screwdriver, and it basically holds that in place.
And how tight would you want to do that?
See that it doesn't. You don't want it really tight. You just want it snug. Okay, as long as it doesn't pop off the ends, that's all you need. Some people think you need to build this up as like a piano, and the reality is if you do that, you're going to cause some problems for yourself. Now, the one element that is different than all the rest is
in a good way, or
yes, in the direct is the driver. Okay, you'll notice you've got one piece like this, then you have three that have the notches on the outside. Now, if by chance this piece was not put on the driver, what you do is you put this piece on. One. It doesn't matter which one it is, just
as long as the notch is out.
Right. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and put that one there. That one there. Now, because we did it the way we did it, we can almost stand it up on its own, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, now there's only one component on this antenna that needs to be adjusted, and that'll be this one back here. I keep saying that because I want to make sure that everyone knows that when you do your thing. There we go. Just this is the only thing that needs to be adjusted. If these seem to be a little bit loose, you can tighten them up just a little. Don't go crazy on them, because it feels like a soft plastic, but it's a plastic designed to handle the elements. And you want to make sure that, here, I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I could have probably put this on first before I did this.
Well, it's a good example to show, though. So you're undoing the bolt here, or the nut, excuse me, and then you are going to be putting on As you see, there's the end terminal here, and that's going to be our start point. So we're going to pop
Right.
that on right there, and we're going to screw it on.
Oh yeah.
My best Barry White right there. Yeah, my best Barry White. Basically all you do is just kind of, it's like a carousel.
Except I won't throw up on this one.
No, you won't. Have I got to? No, I better not.
Thank you.
Okay, now you're going to notice on the end of the wire, it's stripped already. And what you're going to do, is you're going to take that piece, just pull it right off, twist it, really good. Some people say, well, let's put a lug nut on it. Well, we need to be able to, you want to hold that, HA? We need to be able to, I'm going to move that down just a little too.
So right now he's adjusting the height. He's sliding it up to relieve some of that tension with that screw right there on the side. So getting this on, a lot easier than the others. The others shouldn't be too difficult, but this one's the easiest.
Okay, then you put your wire on it like that. Now what might happen is once you start putting things together, you're probably going to need to make an adjustment. And so what you're going to be able to do is loosen this up. You're able to cut it back, slide things down as you want. Symmetry may be a little bit off, but it'll be okay.
So you can cut this if you need to.
Oh,
for
you've
tuning
got to.
purposes.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially when you want to operate on a different frequency. For instance, we've got it optimized at the lower frequencies as far as this element. What you'll end up doing is you'll cut it down, move it, make it smaller. These elements will still work just as well, but what we need to do is just make sure that this element is moved around a little bit. Okay, now the next one would be D2 or D1, and so what I'm doing is I'm looking for blue or a sticker. Now sometimes the stickers, we've done a really good job of trying to get the stickers right, but unfortunately sometimes they do come off. And now we're going to pull the D1 element.
I know what I'm doing now because I watched the video.
Remember, the slots go out.
Notches.
Right, notches. Nachos, notches. Now everyone's going to want to go out and have some nachos.
They can't.
Ah!
Alrighty, here we go. Just tightening up. See what I did there is it was a little tight getting it in because when we were assembling it, so we just got a little overzealous with the starter screw. So I'm loosening it up to get it all the way in there, and it is, and I'm going to just snug it up once again like Emmett was talking about. I'm not going crazy, as you can see here.
Just enough to hold it in place.
Just enough. And not going anywhere. Probably the tightest one on the whole thing.
Now I set these up. We put these together where they can easily compress down and fit. You know, not take up a lot of space when you're
Not using them.
right. Sorry, I get tied up in making things happen. So, okay, now we can go ahead and do this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to loosen it up a little and pull it snug. There we go.
And remember, when you're doing this, just snug the screw up.
Do not really torque it because this material will strip out if you over torque it.
Okay, so we are going on to what?
This will be director number 2.
And is this the final one?
This is the final
look
one.
at that.
Then after that, we'll be ready to do tuning and setup, but we're going to do that on another video.
See, this is where having 2 people is better than 1. Wasn't there a song about that or something? Okay. Having so many stress streams, I don't know.
Something about your achy, breaky heart.
I don't think that's what it was.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go ahead and make this adjustment real quick. Sometimes if things get a little seem to be cattywampus, they can be. What we're going to do is we're just going to adjust it to where everything else is lined up the way it was, or the way it should be. Boom. Not through here. There you go. And then what we'll do is we'll pull this out. There we go.
A little bit more snug there. Pull it out a little bit more.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, now The next thing we're going to do is we're going to, in the case of the 2 meter, we're going to go ahead and connect our coax. We typically don't put any specific connector up here because people have a tendency of wanting to connect things in their own way, either putting a combiner in, whatever. So what we've done is you can get just a simple jumper, and what you'll do is you just go ahead and take bolt number 1 off.
And the good news about this is that we actually make these jumpers here through RadioWavz. Just give us a call if you do end up getting Quasar and you don't want to make your own, or don't have a different way to plug it in. What type of connection is that down there?
Oh, this is in this case, it's a UHF type connector, a PL type connector. You can also do it in BNC or even N. But typically, just to differentiate the different antennas, I'll do 2 meters, I'll do the PL. Then on the 440, I'll do an N-type connector. Okay, and then what we'll do here is we'll undo this bolt. Bolt, that's the name of your dog.
Yeah, well, I'd rather have the antenna and the bolt than the dog.
Okay, we're almost done, which is really cool. See, it didn't really take that much time to put this together, and it's not that complicated, although at times it may seem daunting, but it's not that bad. Now what you can do to secure the wire or the coax is I'll use tie wrap. You can use electrical tape. You use those bungee ties, which are the rubber ties, or Velcro straps. You can get those like for $5 at Home Depot, and they'll give you like about 50 of them, and then you can just tie wrap this, or not tie wrap it down, but you can bring it all the way back to here, and then you're ready to go, and that's it.
Would you use 50 of them for that?
No, you'd only use a couple of them, just enough to secure the wire in place. And sometimes some people like to put in a simple common mode choke. You can, let's see, use my knife.
I think I'd have that.
Never leave home without it.
Looks pretty dull. Picking your teeth with it? Cutting rock steak?
Someone's using glass tape. Okay, and what you can do to do a simple common mode choke is just a little loop like that, and just...
Now, is that a necessary option?
No. Typically, you don't need to mess with that. Now, what will happen during tuning is we'll move this element forward and back to get the lowest SWR as far as overall, or give you the match, and then you can cut the wire. There's 2 things to remember. You cut the wire to get you within the area of the frequency that you want to operate in, and then you move this back element forward or backwards to give you the lowest SWR, to give you your
moving that back and forth, what is that changing?
It just changes the overall impedance.
Okay, perfect. Well, I hope this was informative. All right, so we did the 2 meter. What are we on to next?
We're going to do the 2 meter 440. And as you can see, it might appear to be a little daunting. But remember, the one thing that you can tell the difference between the different elements on the pole itself is that the 2 meter elements are bigger than the 440s. The 440s are smaller.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and
noticeably.
Yes. Now, one of the things that we're going to do first is we're going to put together. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the contents of this package and grab one of the mounting plates. The thing about the mounting plate is it's designed specifically to hold the antenna secure on a pole or a beam or whatever you want. And you'll notice that it fits almost anywhere. What I like to do is try and pick a point almost in the middle of the antenna, or something behind the driven element of the 2 meter. And right there, just like that. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the small elements first, or the small U-bolt, this size. And we're going to go ahead and put it on like so. Put the flat plate on and 2 bolts.
Remember, it's the nuts without the flange.
Yeah, the flanger is self...
the flange does a good job at holding on these bad boys.
Yeah, they're self-locking is what I was trying to remember.
They're not good at holding these bad boys on there.
Right.
It's okay. He's tired. Been playing with nuts all day. This guy.
Now, remember that when you tighten these bolts down and so on, do not tighten them so much that the fiberglass cracks. You only need to tighten them to the point where the split washer that's typically on the unit is compressed, and that should hold everything in place. Just do it to where things are snug.
So don't He-Man it on there.
Right, because what'll happen is you'll ruin the integrity of the boom, and that's not covered under warranty.
You're going to have a bad time is what he was trying to say.
Okay, just a second. Let me get a wrench. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down just a little bit.
Now, for your purposes, you will tighten this down nice and snug, but the only reason we're not really going crazy with it is because this is just a demonstration.
See, nice and snug. It holds it in place, okay? And you can change the tilt angle just a little bit. We've given you a little bit of wiggle room. So what you do is tighten it to where it's nice and snug. Tilt angle is important when you're trying to just completely nail or align other beams. Now, you'll grab this U-bolt, the gold one, and then you use the pipe holder. Slide it on, and you'll notice that it goes on like that. All right, so you've got the U-bolts on one side, the small silver U-bolts on one side, and these U-bolts on the other side.
So the silver is going to be holding the fiberglass, while the gold will be holding on to your mounting pole, correct?
Right, that's correct. And a lot of times you can use, one of the reasons why I put this on first is because it's quite nice to be able to put this on a small pole for assembly purposes.
Oh, so you can kind of do a workaround on that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I'm not going to put these bolts all the way down. I'm just going to put them on snug. All right, and I'll go ahead and do the next one exactly the same way. Just like that.
And remember, even when you're putting it onto a metal pole, do not over tighten. It does not need to be...
You don't need to crimp the pole.
Yeah. Done that before.
Don't crimp the style.
He meant cramp the style.
I'm past that in my age. Oh. All right. Okay, so that's on there.
So where do we start first with the elements?
Okay, the biggest recommendation is start with the smallest first, as in the smallest elements. That would be the 440. Okay. Starting from this is the front of the antenna. This is the 2 meter element that's about an inch away or very close to the end of the pole. And then you have the smaller elements back here. So we're going to start at the back. The back is set up in such a way that the very first element, this is 2 meters. This next one would be the 440 reflector. So it'd be R, and it would be the color black. And sometimes on these elements, we won't put a bead on the black because it's obvious that the wire's black. So what I'll do next is I'll also find the small fiberglass that has the R on it. I'll take the little rubber bands off of it. Each one of these are marked. So what I'll do is I'll start from the back and work my way forward, and then I'll do the same thing with the 2 meter.
Now, just to reiterate, these hub pieces are actually smaller than the 2 meter, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just to make sure I'm following.
Right.
So that's another fail-safe. If you are starting with 440, go for the smallest of the two on the back.
Right. Also, remember the notch goes out. That's a white. Where did my black wire go?
He's speaking about the notch once again, which is right here. It looks like old school bow and arrow. The arrow would have that little notch that would go onto the back of it. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So I see that you have the
R for reflector.
R for reflector for the 440. As you can see, he's working his way around slowly, pushing it into the notches. And then the last one, he's able to snug it up.
See, there's a little bit of play, so what we're going to do is we're going to snug it up. We don't have to go really tight, just enough to keep things from popping off. That's all. And then when you tighten up this fiberglass, don't screw it all the way in, just screw it into where it holds it in place. If you overdo it, you're going to crack your fiberglass. Okay.
Now which one are we going with now?
The next element will be the driver, okay, and that's different in that it'll have one of these little pieces, or this will be off and you have to put it on yourself, and you'll get all four of the the D's. 2, 3, where'd the fourth one go? There it is. Okay, and you'll go ahead and put those on.
And that's going to go right in front of the reflector, correct?
Correct.
Mommy didn't raise no fool.
No, she didn't. Okay, we're going to be using the red wire, and this is set up to where it'll be on the lower end, or actually in the land mobile side. And what you'll end up having to do is shorten this up, but not right now. You'll only do that when it comes time to. See, what I'm doing here is I'm just taking this bolt off real quick because one side has a ring on it. Okay, and we just basically put the washer on, the lock washer, and then the bolt nut.
Washer, lock washer,
Right.
bolt, nut. I did exactly what you said.
See? These sometimes might pop out like that, so what you do is you just run the wire all the way around.
And does the wire also act as an anchor to just kind of hold it all together?
Oh yes.
Okay. So generally speaking, once this is all put together,
It'll hold together, yeah.
Perfect. I mean, I knew that. And you're just folding that
Yeah, I'm
strip
just,
wire
yep,
right
around
the post.
Some people say, well, why don't you put a ring nut on there? Well, if we did, you wouldn't be able to make adjustments on the
so
antenna.
It's specifically for tuning.
Yeah.
Now, say a customer screws up accidentally and maybe cuts the wire in half when they didn't mean to. What would they do?
They'd call RadioWavz and get a replacement wire.
Okay, perfect. Just double checking. So you pulled that out again just to give it a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
You can adjust both either this component or this component, but it's, cum se,
Now-
cum sa.
When this is all kind of together, that's when we do our tuning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be along the same lines of the 2 meter as well, correct?
Correct.
Just moving the
Right.
reflector.
Okay, the next one will be D1, will be director number 1.
The first in a long line of Ds.
Yes, we've heard that before. Nice thing about the 440 is you can almost set it on its side like this and you're good to go. Okay, where are the rest of my wires at? Okay, there's D2. I'm looking for blue. All right. Blue is D2, is D1. Okay, then you slide it all the way forward. Boom.
And you can adjust every single one of these elements, correct?
Yes.
So if it's too loose or too tight, you're able to, with that one screw right there.
One set screw, yep.
Okay.
Okay, now it's a little loose, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little thing and just kind of pull it just to where it's snug. You don't want to pull it like it's a piano wire.
So basically you're just pushing, you're just
Pulling it
straight
out just a little.
adding that tension. Okay.
Yeah, and then tightening it up.
Okay.
Now, the other part is you don't have to tighten it all the way down, just enough to where it holds it in place. Okay, now the next element will be D2, and that will be green. And as you're putting this antenna together, and you might forget about what goes where, the thing to remember is the biggest wire goes to the back, and the smallest wire goes front.
See, Emmett's actually made a mistake here. He actually started putting these in the wrong.
Oh, good connect.
So
See?
remember which one you're working on, 440 or 2 meter.
I did that so he would catch me. Shows how attentive he is.
And look at how professional this is. It just slips right in. And if you treat it right, it might even cook you dinner. It just depends on where you take her the first.
Yeah, just got to tighten it up just a little.
There we go. And tighten her down. There we go.
Okay, let's go to D3.
What color would that be?
Yellow.
Perfect. I'm not colorblind at all. This is not very difficult. But see, now this one's a little tight, so what do we do here then?
If you have to, if it doesn't fit exactly, you can loosen that up, and you can use a little flathead screwdriver. That's good. You don't take the screw out.
I know. All right, go ahead and show us your flathead screwdriver method.
Okay, what you do is you just take the flathead screwdriver, slide it up. There we go. And it just pops right on there.
Mm-hmm. Just right on there.
There we go. Sorry, I keep slipping. There
No,
we go.
this is like real time showing you what you might actually be
Run
dealing
into,
with.
yeah, but none of these should be so tight that that they can't fit on.
Right there, it's right in.
There you go.
Perfect.
And then you can slide it out just a hair.
Okay, it looks like we're done with 440, and as you can see, it's all put together here. You know, we got to there and we figured you would.
You could figure out how to do the rest of them. Yeah.
So, what is the next step?
The next set of elements is to install the 2 meter elements, and they'll start with R, which would be in the back of the antenna, and we'll use the black wire. Same color codes, but the big difference is we're using a lot bigger wire.
Rod. Spoke.
No,
Dang.
wire.
Oh. Another pro tip here, if you end up getting the bracket on and everything and you don't want to have to lay it on a table like we've done, you can actually just get your post and mount it somewhere and have it held up for you while you put it together. So that's something we do actually when we do shows. Makes it a little bit easier to do it when it's just one person. And that's important to remember. But if it's a field day situation, all this stuff is really simple to do. And honestly, once you see it together, it'll all click and you'll remember. It's so simple. And he's folding that back in there and that actually looks pretty good.
I'll just leave that alone. You could obviously tighten it up if you want to. Okay, the next element is going to be the director, or excuse me, the driver. And it'll be marked with a D on the wire, or on the thing. Now, a quick note is what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to see how this element, the feed point is on at one angle. What you're going to do is you're going to set the feed point for the 2 meter at about 45 degrees off. That way, they're not tied together, and you won't have any problems. Okay, I just want to keep this a little bit loose. Put the other one in. The other one in. Okay, you can set this down just a little bit. That way it'll hold it. The wire will stay in place. Okay, now you've got the ring side. What that's going to do. Other pro tip, just for the fun of it, is when you put. We'll deal with this a little bit later. But when you put the coax jumpers on, you want to make sure that the center is on in the same orientation as the other element. So that way, the center. Let's say the center pin is here. The center pin will be right there. That way, your everything will be in the same rotation.
You guys have different polarization?
Correct.
Maybe? Okay. Let's double check it.
Now, what's kind of interesting about a quad, especially this kind of quad, if you want to do like satellites and so on, is because we are set up with a loop antenna. The polarization isn't as tight as it would be with a dipole. So you don't have to be 100% on the bird as far as at the right polarization, because one of the things that the quad will do for you is give you a little bit more of a circular polarization, even though the element is either set up for horizontal or vertical.
The other cool thing about quads is you can play frisbee golf. And
Yes.
Meet maybe your future wife. Who knows? They're a lot of fun.
Wives are, yes.
Okay, so which element are you doing now? Or which,
I'm doing D1.
D1.
Okay,
So you did
Reflector.
director.
and driver, and then director. Director 1 and director 2.
How many movies do you know of that two directors?
Don't know.
I don't know either.
I have to ask some of our California friends. All right. Okay, D1 is blue. Go ahead and
oh, you trapped yourself there, Dad.
I didn't. It just looks like it.
Movie magic. Perfect.
Boom. And now, and the last element.
Someone's a little overzealous when they were prepping this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and as you can see here, it looks like in shipping, things shifted around a little bit, so now we just line that back up and we're square. I use that little screw. There's a little guy right there in the middle
Little
of
set
the
screw.
And remember, I'm not tightening it down like E-Man the antenna bearing. Well,
There you go.
okay, perfect. And now you have a completed
2 meter 440. And what you would do is, then you'd go ahead. I'm not going to go ahead and do it right now, but you can connect your. I suggest an in connector for your 440, and then connect a PL connector for your 2 meter. And that way you know the difference, especially down the pole, what antenna is what. We can also do jumper cables that are BNC type, so you for a little bit more portable operations and so on. Interesting thing, I had a guy call me the other day. He's doing T hunting with the 2 meter antenna, and he's mounted it on his car, and he's driving up and down the highway looking for these transmitters. And it's an excellent antenna for T hunting. Why? Because it's a very quiet antenna and it's very directional. It has an excellent front to back ratio. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Now all you have to do is mount it and tune it.
And if you do put it on your car, it'll look like you have a phaser on
Yes.
it, and nobody will get in your way.
Yes, no one, not even the police. Just kidding.
Thank you for joining us. And if you have any other questions that you might have, you can go to our website, RadioWavz.com, or sales@RadioWavz.com, and that's going to give us there's going to be a direct line to us. And please continue to look for new videos. We're going to have a lot more product demonstration videos for our past projects and our future projects. And if there is anything specific that a lot of you are just chomping at the bit to get, when it comes to videos and how to assemble, please let us know in our email at sales@radiowavz.com. Thank you again for your time. This is HJ KD0DTS.
This is Emmett, W0QH.
Bye.